So Israel is still poised to strike Iran, and in July, Blinken said that Iran was 1 to 2 weeks away from developing a nuclear weapon. So I guess for all we know, they might have one by now. And meanwhile, in Ukraine, they've struck deep within Russian territory several times, as deep as 300 miles from the border. And in that case, we don't have to guess. We know that Russia has the largest nuclear arsenal on the planet, as many as 6,000 warheads. And so one of the risks of arming militaries that are striking in the territories of nuclear powers is that one of those gets deployed, and then it could escalate very quickly from there. So it's rarely discussed, but it's important to address that the nuclear risk is real, and it could very abruptly mean the end of what humans have worked for thousands of years to collectively achieve. And us today are very lucky to live with the fruits of that achievement, and I feel like we're treating the risks kind of brazenly. So my question for you is, we often hear in response to these concerns that, well, Putin, Khomeini, they're war criminals, they're terrorists, as if they're too inherently evil or immoral for us to negotiate with. But meanwhile, this administration has financed a genocide in Gaza for the last year, and every day you're up there denying accountability for it. So, what gives you the right to lecture other countries on their moral?
So if you have a policy question for me, I'm happy to take it. If you want to give a speech, there are plenty of places in Washington where you can give a speech.
Yeah, but people are sick of the bullshit in here. It is a genocide.
You are
abetting it, and you are risking nuclear war in Ukraine for this proxy war.
Plenty of other places to give a speech. Go ahead. Yeah, Saeed, go ahead.
Thank you. Actually, in your response to Shannon, or the substance of what she said about the relationship with Netanyahu and so on. There was not a leak, but there was a report on the new book by Bob Woodward, and the kind of relations between the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Yesterday, the vice president was on 60 Minutes and so on, and the forensics of both suggest that you don't really have a great deal of sway over Netanyahu, despite the fact that we've given them, or taxpayers paid for, almost $23 billion in the last year alone. That's almost $3,000 for each and every Israelis. So you have absolutely no leverage on, no pressure. You cannot tell them do this or not do this.
So we make very clear to the government of Israel what we believe that are the best outcomes along a number of different vectors in the region. But as you've heard me say before, they're ultimately a sovereign country and have to make their own decisions.
Yes, but I understand. But a sovereign country that received from American taxpayers, that received $22 billion.
So first of all, that number is not correct. It conflates 17. A number of different things. No, but it's not. It's not correct. It's off.
Okay,
it conflates.
Half of that. What is the number?
I don't have the exact number, but if you look at the, I know the number you're referring to.
This is the number that came out of.
Yeah, which it can.
there was
So what's the U.S. government? What does the U.S. government think that it has given Israel since October 7th?
So I don't know. We give them $3.3 billion a year, and there was additional money that was appropriated in the supplemental. The reason it's hard to answer that question definitively is
they're different. Don't want to. That's why.
No,
that's why it's hard to answer.
There are different ways of looking at it. There's money that is appropriated. There's money that's allocated, and then not actually delivered for years to come.
Educational organizations that have come up with estimates. This building, at least, which is in charge of arms transfers, at least many of them, hasn't seen fit to come up with an update since July of last year.
Yeah, I just don't have the update. I'm just telling you that number. Okay. You can look at that number and see how it conflates a number of things, including direct U.S. military spending to combat the Houthis attacking international shipping, which is included in that number, which is obviously not aid to Israel.
It can't be that difficult to separate what has been given to them post October 7th in terms of things that were not approved before then under the MOU. Stuff that went to them specifically for the Gaza operation and now Lebanon.
So it depends how you look at it. Is it the amount that's been allocated to them? Is it the amount that's been delivered to them? Is it an amount that is going to be delivered?
I'll take any of them.
No,
right
I know.
now.
That's the point. Is when you ask the question, it's a difficult one. I don't have the numbers here at my fingertips. Obviously, I'm just pointing out that the number that Saeed referred to grossly
someone's got to have the numbers someplace.
Matt, the numbers were Brown University's numbers, not mine, and so on. But it doesn't matter what the actual figure is. But we give them a lot of money. We give them a great deal of leverage. We give them obviously a great deal of political coverage in the UN and many other places and so on, and to suggest that, this huge and lengthy partnership really does not exact any kind of leverage with the Israelis. Don't you question that?
That's not what I said. The thing that I said is that we are a sovereign country with our interests. They are a sovereign country with their interests.
Right.
We have very direct conversations with them about what we think the appropriate path forward is. But ultimately, like every sovereign country, they have to make their own decisions. They have to bear the consequences for those decisions. They have to carry the risks of those decisions.
Okay. Just not to belabor the issue, but let me ask you: do you believe that this money was well spent in the area in which it was spent? Despite no matter what the amount is. Was it spent properly? Could it have been leveraged differently and so on?
I don't know what you mean by the question.
Fine, never mind. Then